It's not possible to make a series called Ultimate House without eventually having to discuss green and sustainability issues. Now, if you, like me, are a little bit unsure about the whole green architecture thing, prepare to be challenged by this. We're in Venice Beach in Southern California to visit Solar Umbrella, and it's the ultimate sustainable house. Angie, Larry, you guys are the architects of Solar Umbrella. Now, I have to say, when I came here today, I was a little bit surprised because I was expecting a building that yelled, "I'm a green building," at me, and it didn't do that. Is this something you consciously did?
Yes. Essentially, I would argue that a building that is an energy hog that everyone loves is more green than a building that's a zero energy building that nobody likes. And I think really it's architecture, the building, the design, how people experience it is really what's important. The green aspects are just another layer. It's a question of ethics.
We don't really call ourselves environmentalists. We believe that a lot more people should be doing it. A lot more architects should be doing it.
As a matter of course.
Angie, nevertheless, the house has won prizes for its green features. Just talk us through some of those a little bit, please.
Sure. Well, the first thing that you should always do before you put solar panels on your house, for instance, is just to design a good building. So we looked at orientation and cross ventilation. A lot of the spaces of the house work passively. You can open up a wall of the house and air will come through, and then it will act as a chimney and go up through the second floor of the house. The southern windows are all shaded. It's a part of the design. There's increased insulation in the walls, and a lot of the finishes are recycled finishes inside the house.
One of the things I noticed when I came into the house is that some of the materials are really very unusual and very exotic, especially that one over there, which looks like it's a suede. I was very tempted to sort of touch it when it came in, and then I was very surprised to discover that it is
newsprint.
Newsprint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Explain.
It's just recycled newsprint made like in a slurry, and then they press it together. When you actually get the product, it's like really sort of ugly and dirty on the outside, is never meant to be finished. And then we actually put it through a drum sander, and you get that real beautiful sort of suede texture to it.
Well, a lot of what we do in the office is investigate off-the-shelf materials that are commonly available and use them in different ways. We have one person in the office who works full-time, and that's all she does.
That's her
really.
job.
You've got sustainable features. Can you explain to me a little bit how some of these features actually work?
Well, there are two separate systems. So we have actually two hot water panels.
The city water goes into a solar panel, and it can actually get up to close to boiling in temperature. And so it preheats it using the sun and then goes into our hot water heater, and that's really just like a storage tank. So think of it like boiling a pot of water. You know, takes a lot of energy to get it to boil, but once it's boiling, you can turn that heat almost off and it will stay right at boiling.
And then the solar panels generate energy and it goes into the grid. And we have the net meter, which is a meter that runs in two directions. So we send all of our energy into the grid during the daylight hours, and then we essentially get a credit. And whenever we use energy, the meter runs in the other direction.
So ideally, you'd have a net zero, because if you create more, it's theirs to keep. We have 89 panels on the house, and our utility bill is roughly $500 a year.
Put that in context for me. $500 a year for your energy costs. The typical house in Venice, how much are they going to spend a year on their energy?
I don't know, some might approach that per month. So
$500 a month?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. So what we try to do is reduce consumption, and therefore all your active systems need to be smaller and smaller, but it just doesn't work to have an energy hog and just try and make up for it with active or energy generation.
I have the feeling somehow that building a greenhouse in Southern California might be just a little bit easier to achieve than in another part of the world. Am I right?
No, actually not. And people think that because our climate is rather mild. It actually takes longer to pay back because your systems really don't work to their capacity. So it's actually better when you have higher usage.
If we were in New York, if we were in Seattle, would this house look the same?
Absolutely not.
No. You know, every place has a different set of rules.
You have to think about it differently. You've got to look at your microclimate and your regional climate to kind of make it work. And so every site is different. What you would do in the Northeast, you certainly wouldn't do in Southern California.
How much do you find that your knowledge and technique of green building, taken from, I presume, houses like this, sort of carries over to larger scale projects?
Well, ironically, it wasn't our house that was first. It was an affordable housing project. And that sort of put us on the map.
It has a microturbine and solar panels to generate 100% of its load. Usually the active systems cost more at the beginning, so we were proactive in helping the client get grant money to pay for those systems.
Now, in addition to being the architects for this project, you were also the clients. Did that present any kind of challenges for you that would be different from another project?
We were also the general contractor for a portion of the work as well. So
Or when things didn't go right, I was the general contractor.
Yeah, but that's always the case. That's what we're for. When you're the architect and the client, does that mean that you arrive at your design faster, or does it mean that you think about it a little bit more?
it means you keep redoing things and you do them over and over again because it's so easy for you.
You do less drawing. And so we built a lot of things, or designed a lot of things as we were building it.
I mean, you've got a young child, you've got a 7-year-old child. How does kind of high-end architecture work with family life?
Well, he
Really
loves
well.
it. When those doors are open, he comes running from there, bounces on the couch, and is out the door before you can yell at him. If you make it spatially good, you know, all the rest is just icing on the cake, you know. And so for us, it's the connection to outside, the taller ceilings, the natural light and ventilation, and, you know, everything else is just extra. We think, you know, we designed it for living. And, you know, you can tell the doors open, the garden becomes part of the house. And so we'll sit here and work on our laptop while he's swimming with his friends right there with the door open. It's like being in the same room.
Yeah. The budget, if I'm right, for this project was $390,000. So by anybody's standards, it's actually quite an inexpensive renovation.
Well, yeah, but, you know, we had a lot of goodwill. So it was, I would say, we did it cost effectively.
There are a couple of things I'll take from our visit to Solar Umbrella today. The first is that the entire project, including the renovation of the existing structure and the extension, costs less than $400,000. Now, by anybody's measure, that's not really a whole lot of money, and it's proof that good architecture doesn't cost. It's about imagination and inventiveness. But the reason we're here today is because this building is considered an exemplar of green design. And what I think is important about it is this. Up until this point, in order for a building to be considered green, it had to look green. But I think what the architects are saying in this building is that all those green and sustainability issues should be just hovering in the background. It should be a piece of architecture first, and that the sustainability element of the building should just simply be integral and shouldn't be screaming out its name. And I believe that's the way forward.